Ellie was vaguely aware of the situation. My grandparents came to visit us twice, but he only remembered 1935, when his father begged them to stay. They decided against it, to remain with their two other children. Young Ellie had no sense of what lay over the horizon. My father must have been aware of the incipient danger, but that sort of thing never came through to me. Did they talk about Lviv? Never. Its influence? Not really, no. Did the fear of war weigh on his father's mind? The question produced a quizzical look, then silence. That's interesting, he said. But no, he kept that to himself. Maybe he shared it with my mother, but what was happening in Poland was completely shut off. We never talked about the situation in Lemberg. He found other things to talk about. I persisted. Well, it was a horrendous period, Ellie eventually conceded. He knew that something terrible could happen, not necessarily that it would happen, or that it would happen the way it did. His father was detached, for protective reasons. Ellie explained, he went about his life and his business, tried to persuade his parents to come. There was occasional correspondence, of which, alas, we have no copies. He didn't return to Poland to see his parents. I don't know that he was detached, but the relationship with his parents was one of detachment, although I knew he loved them very much. I doubt if he and my mother ever sat down to discuss, should we tell the boy about this? Did he talk about his Polish past? No. What was part of the household was the fact that he had been brought up in an Orthodox Jewish household in Poland. He would take us through the Passover Seder, singing it in the traditional way, which I loved. The melody still persists in my head, but I have no recollection of any substantive conversation about his Polish life. Never? No, not ever. Ellie was silent for a little, then said, he was busy, getting on with his work. This was followed by a weary, soft sigh. 37. Getting on with his work brought further success. In late 1937, the boy from Żolkiew was elected to the prestigious chair of international law at Cambridge University. In January 1938, Lauterpacht travelled by train from King's Cross Station to take up his new post, which came with a fellowship at Trinity College. Letters of congratulation arrived from Kelson and colleagues at the LSE. Philip Noel Baker, the director, offered warm congratulations, as did Sir William Beveridge, a colleague who helped accommodate German refugees when he wasn't thinking about creating a modern system of welfare. My feelings of you have always been one of profound gratitude, Lauterpacht told Beveridge in reply, for the help with academic refugees, and great affection. The Cambridge news brought a proud and happy response from Lviv. My dearest and beloved son, Deborah wrote, for this piece of good news I thank you 1,000 times. The letter hinted at financial difficulties, with Aaron at work in distant Gdansk. We cannot be happy together, she wrote. In September, the family moved to a larger, semi-detached house at 6 Cranmer Road in Cambridge, bought from the McNairs for £1,800 on a tree-lined street of generously proportioned homes, many with their own driveways. There were sitting rooms, a dining room, a butler's pantry, and a scullery for the cooking. Meals were served punctually, 1 o'clock for lunch, 7 o'clock for supper, announced by a brass gong. Tea was served at 4:30, often with a slice of Victoria sponge cake from Fitzbilly's, the local bakery that still operates today. The first floor had a bedroom each for Lauterpacht, Rachel, and Ellie, and a study for Lauterpacht. This was where he worked, often with classical music in the background, seated in an elbow chair made of walnut behind a large leather-topped mahogany desk, looking out over the garden. It was stocked with apple, plum, and greengage trees, which Lauterpacht liked to prune, and daffodils, roses, and lilies of the valley, his favourite flowers. He attached importance to a weed-free lawn, mowed by a gardener, retaining throughout his life a fear of catching cold if his feet touched wet grass. For this reason, in such conditions he always walked on his heels, toes tipped upward to minimize contact with the ground. Picturesque, Ellie recalled. The Lauterpachts were comfortable.